Should you sell real estate or should you sell insurance? So as someone who's done both, I'm just more or less going to give you my opinion and the pros and cons of each of them. So I'm going to kind of make a T-chart here with a comparison between the two. And I'm going to write this down for you real quick. So I'm going to put insurance sales on the left here, and we'll get real estate on the right for you. So insurance, real estate, and pardon my handwriting. I never took any, I think they're called calligraphy classes, but whatever. So for the first one here, we're going to talk about sales cycle. So I started in real estate at the age of 18. I think I had $12,000 at the time. I'd saved that up during high school, working 3 jobs. And, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get my real estate license and get into real estate. So one of the biggest issues that I faced though when I got into the business was the sales cycle. So the sales cycle with due diligence and everything that comes involved with that ends up to be about 45 days, somewhere in that ballpark. It can be longer. I think it can even be a little bit shorter, but typically somewhere around 45 days is when you're going to get paid. And that's after your prospect agrees to the deal. So let's say, I walk in, show a house, and I say, hey, Miss Jones, you think this is the one? And they go ahead and, yeah, we're going to put in an offer right now. I want you to write it on the table, blah, 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 right? Here's a suitcase full of cash. I'm not going to get paid until we sit at the table with the attorney 45 days later. Now, with insurance, I started with $1,000 in my bank account, by the way, several years later. And when you sell insurance, you get paid sometimes as fast as the next day, but typically, weekly, okay? Alrighty, and so as someone who, the second time around, this was after, the pandemic and everything in 2020, I ended up only having $1,000 left in my name, and so I hopped into the insurance business with nothing but a couple cups of coffee and a dream, and I made it happen. Right? Luckily, I got paid weekly, so I didn't have to worry about this here. And that for me was a massive pro in the insurance business. So I want to talk a little bit about, deals falling through. So one thing that I would say is kind of a positive about real estate is you don't really have any chargebacks, right? No chargebacks. Now that is a beautiful thing because that means that they cannot take your commissions away, right? So, regardless, after I've closed the deal on a house, I'm going to get paid. That's it. Keep it moving, right? Now with insurance, you can get chargebacks. And so what this means is, if you're not familiar, whenever you sell a policy, if they decide that they're not going to pay their bill within the first year, commission, gone. Now, you can get them back on the books and fix that, so it's not really, a huge deal, but I would say that real estate not having any chargebacks is definitely a pro for them. Now, I want to talk a little bit about freedom, right? So before I write anything down here, I'm going to kind of go through an explanation. So with real estate, you have to be there, right? I have to show them the house. I have to walk them around. I have to be involved. I have to be on ground zero. It's pretty difficult to do any form of remote work. I mean, yeah, you can call and set up showings. You can do stuff like that. But it's a pretty, unless you have a showing agent and then you have, somebody helping you out with literally everything and all you do is make phone calls, then, you're not really able to work remotely. So I would say you are tied to location. Right? I have to go and show houses around the area, houses I'm trying to sell. And also the system that is used to, track listings is called the MLS. I only get the MLS for my immediate area, right? So if you live in, North Carolina like I do, I live in the Triad, I'm tied to my area, right? I don't get the whole state. I'm licensed in the state, but I'm restricted unless I decide to expand that system, which is kind of a pain in the butt, which is what, one of the things I ran into as an issue. Now, with insurance, remote work is easier, believe it or not. I'm going to say easier, not easy. So right here, we talk about remote work. So you can call from anywhere in the world and still close deals, right? So I can go out, live the life I want to live, travel, sit on the beaches, sip Mai Tais, eat bonbons, do whatever I want. And I don't have to worry about being tied to this location. So I would say that's a point for the insurance business, right? Let's talk a little bit about size of commissions. This is one that everybody likes to get excited about, right? So real estate, if you were to rate real estate on Yelp, it would probably be $3 signs because the commissions are fat, right? If you sell a house for $1 million, you get 3%. Alrighty, that's pretty nice, right? And so this is pretty cool here. One of the things that really attracted me to real estate at the age of 18 was the size of the checks. So I looked up online, top 10 highest paying jobs without any college degree. This came up, and honestly, that's more or less why I got into the business. That and the fact that I like people. So I thought it would work out. But insurance, here's the thing that most people don't know. See, insurance, if it were to be rated on Yelp, would have $4 signs. And I'm going to tell you why. So there's a beautiful thing called annuities, right? They pay you just about they're usually done on assets that are just about the same size as houses, anywhere from, 150K up, typically. And you can get anywhere from, depending on, what you're doing, maybe 4.5%. So you're actually getting typically over double, sometimes triple the commissions on that with the same price point, meaning you're getting paid more, right? Now, you also have renewals, meaning that you get paid annually. So one thing that was a massive pro that real estate does not have for me is the fact that you are paid over and over. I refer to it as a gift that keeps on giving because you get paid for a lot of products as every year that they keep it, right? Now this depends on what you're selling. The product I'm specifically mentioning with the renewal that I am most fond of is called Medicare. This is a business to consumer product, and it is the gift that keeps on giving, right? Over here, real estate. For those of you that are watching this, or those of you that have tried real estate or thinking about real estate, you know that this question is everything and more in this business. Business being real estate. Where's my next deal coming from? This right here is the worst question you can ever ask yourself. It is a lot harder to build a pipeline when the average American moves around once every 7 years, right? Because if I'm having to wait every 7 years to sell someone a house, despite working referrals, despite working leads, this is always going to be a question that you will have. Insurance. Here's the beautiful part about insurance. Everybody needs it. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, 100 emoji, right? So everybody needs insurance. Specifically talking about Medicare, again, this is my personal favorite, right? When you're talking about Medicare, everybody needs it. Over the age of 65, they don't really have a choice. It is like legally required for them to have it. So you do have to have that. Therefore, I'm going to get paid by the government, regardless of if they want it or not, to put them on the plan that's best for them. So not only does this help them out, not only does this solve their problems and impact them financially in a positive fashion, they also have to have it. So it's not like they can really say no. And it's basically, it's pretty much free. It already comes out of their check before they even get it. So this right here is basically more or less a slam dunk deal unless they have a better plan, right? Or if they have, if they don't have a plan at all, then it's just a slam dunk deal, period, unless they hate you. So if they do hate you, maybe don't do sales. But where's my next deal coming from? Let's get back to this one, right? A lot of people are moving towards renting. This is because of a lot of the information on the media about, hey, you need to rent, renting gives you no liability, blah, 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 blah. This is basically mass marketing from landlords, right? And so with this being said, more people are moving to renting, real estate's getting more expensive, first-time home buyers are struggling to get houses. This means that people with lower credit scores are gonna have to move towards renting as well. So this market is contracting, right? The people at the top, AKA the landlords or the big-time investors, they are getting everything and they are going straight to the consumer as rentals. So if I had to pick between the two, I would choose insurance all day long. If I could go back, 4 years ago and do it all over again, I would go to insurance, and here's why. This market, the insurance market, is constantly growing, right? And so I'm gonna put a little chart for it going to the moon, right? Because the population continues to grow year over year. You also have, with insurance salespeople, a decline in sales people, because not a lot of people stay in the industry. That was an arrow. It's not now, but a lot of people don't stay in the industry. That's because it's not easy. It isn't. You do have to work hard. You do have to put in a lot of effort, and it does take some time, especially if you get into the wrong company or something like that. That's where that happens, right? But the fact that you have a constant growing population, and this is not a want, but a necessity, right? This makes sense to sell because everybody needs it. With real estate, while everybody does need it, you can rent, and with the population continuing to go up, right? We're seeing a decline in people buying homes because they're getting more expensive, right? So this is the market growing. We saw a lot of this in the last 2 years, and we have a continuous increase in salespeople, right? Little up arrow. So we continue to see this market of salespeople growing. The product is not as readily available because we have more people and the same amount of land. So with the population increase, the salespeople increase, and the decrease in availability for the product, despite the fact that the commissions are big, we're always going to see people moving towards renting moving forward because of the continuous population growth. And again, this is why I would choose insurance, because as people continue to, populate the earth and the population continues to grow, the need is still there, the price is still there, and I will always have an available market for myself and anybody that I choose to work with. So that, wraps up today's video. And if you want to see more content like this, drop a like, comment any opinions, thoughts, questions, and hit that subscribe button to see a video from us next week.